Never to see you again. That was simply delusion, followed up with confusion. That was just substitution for your lonely bed. So that's impressive, how much you're messing with my feelings in my heart. Oh yeah, yeah, that's impressive, how much you're messing with my feelings in my heart. Table run, oh, they saving us for the stable friend of mine. Cause they know all this time that I was out my mind, thinking you were the one, that it was love, feelings were strong. I should've known, I should know. I don't know what I was thinking, let it be more than drinking and going back to your place, never to see you again. That was simply delusion, followed up with confusion. That was just substitution for a lonely bed. So that's impressive, how much you're messing with my feelings in my heart. Oh yeah, yeah, that's impressive, how much you're messing with my feelings in my heart. Oh yeah. Never to see you again. That was simply delusion, followed up with confusion. That was just substitution for your lonely bed. So that's impressive, how much you're missing. My feelings in my heart, in my heart. Yeah, that's impressive, how much you're missing. Feelings in my heart. You messing with me? How much you messing with me? How much you messing with me? How much you messing with me?
NathanIvey.com. Mr. Ivy know the show must go on. And for Cincinnati, man, I put on. Tunes made another flame beat for me to cook on. Raised dogs, closed fish, yeah, too strong. Team AI, chop it up at the chop shop. Top notch with the king flow, the hot shot. Cop squats in, listen to the real, jumping like hopscotch. Nobody harder than, oh, no, think not. Not only citywide, but nationwide. Superlative, keep it locked like them Haitian guys. Put the truth in the airwaves, we talk about it. Brand new like them templates, let's be about it. Who got the info by the AM? Jono be the rapper, got them jamming when they play him. Staying in my lane, they ain't gotta okay him. Who the host with the scoop? Yeah, they gon' say him. Ivy, So superlative like a bag of grippos. Show you where the bricks at, Cincinnati Reds at. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at. It's the 5-1-3, yeah, you know the flow. What's the word, Nate? Let them know the show. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Only a few will appreciate what's about to happen. Good morning to you. It's your morning destination for interesting conversation, broadcasting live from beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio. And I just won't stop. Good morning. Come on back. I appreciate you. What's up, choppers? Good morning to you. Let me give you a heads up. So at 8:30 a.m. in approximately about 20 minutes, I'm scheduled to get a Zoom-style call from Morgan Harper. Morgan Harper is running for the U.S. Senate. If elected, she'd be the first woman to be elected as a senator from the state of Ohio and the first black woman elected in the U.S. Senate. We'll get a sense of who she is. She's got two Democratic challengers. My plan is to talk to everybody in that race. Like I said, I'm in Ohio, so we're going to talk about what matters to Ohio among everything else. Also, I want to remix a bit of a topic that we talked about yesterday, but we had so many guests, I didn't get a chance to really talk about it. Why is Kanye West being shamed because his ex-wife has a boyfriend, yet Mary J. Blige gets a complete pass? I don't get it. Pardon me. I don't get it. Why is that? Why is he being shamed because his ex is doing something? Soon to be ex-wife. I don't get it. I mean, it don't make sense to me. But Mary J. Blige has weaponized her music against her ex-husband, and nobody says a damn thing about it, except for yours truly. You know me. You know me. I'm not like these other dudes. This is superlative flows. Good morning to you. We got a unique perspective here, and we'll get to that. So we get to talk to Morgan Harper coming up at 8:30 a.m. Now, I got a special live stream that's scheduled for about 1 p.m.-ish today, Eastern Standard Time. And I'm scheduled to speak with a criminal journalist. Her name is Cerise Castle. Cerise Castle. You might have seen her on the Breakfast Club most recently. And she's been exposing the history of L.A. sheriff deputy gangs. So these are gangs within the L.A. Sheriff's Department that are operating outside the law. You might be thinking, L.A. gangs, huh? What? Yeah. And I conversed with her a little bit. She's saying that this might be an epidemic throughout the country, including here in Cincinnati. What? Yeah, she actually mentioned that. It was unsolicited. I said, I'm in Cincinnati. She's like, yeah, I heard some things about them Hamilton County Sheriff deputies. Word? I want to hear all of it. That'll be a special live stream at about 1 p.m. We'll live stream for about 30 minutes or so. If you miss it, don't worry. I'll keep the clips. We'll play it again on Monday. Because I know you might be working or whatever you do. I might not be a part of your routine at that time. Good morning to you. Welcome back. Yeah, we here. I'm here. Come on in. Let's do it. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. What's up, winners? What's up, early risers? Ron writes, what the F is being shamed? Like, what's happening right now? Like, D.O. Hughley's making jokes because Kanye West's ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, has a boyfriend. He's making his jokes like somehow this is a reflection on Kanye West. I don't get it. Like, most mature men understand that a woman chooses to do what the fuck a woman chooses to do. You don't have no control over that. And in a situation like that, you got a couple ways you can deal with it. You can take it the Omarion route. Remember Omarion? When his ex hooked up with his former band member, what'd he say? He said, I don't feel no ways. I don't feel nothing. Everybody gave him props. That's gangster. That's gangster because he ain't show emotion. That's gangster. That's that street way. That's that player way. Well, Kanye, maybe he's still in love with her. And I just don't understand it. Maybe he's still in love with Kim Kardashian. Maybe he still wants to be with her. I mean, they do have children together. Maybe he misses her. It just seems to me that when a black man shows emotion, he becomes subject of ridicule. I don't get it. So what? Yes, she want to leave. He wants to be with her. That's been going on since the beginning of time. That happens all the time, back and forth. Meanwhile, nobody says nothing about Mary J. Mary J has weaponized her music against her ex-husband. Nobody says the word. Nobody says, oh, that's abusive. That's toxic. Nobody says a word. And I'm challenging the women's this morning. You knew I was going to bring this up again. We didn't have enough time yesterday. I want to get all into it today because I think I'm right. I think I'm right. People tell me I got half the story. I got the whole story. When somebody's going through it's a couple things there's a couple times in life when you should stay the F out of people's business no matter what. And one of those times is when people are going through a divorce. Now, I've never gone through a divorce, but I can imagine, Ron, that's a pretty emotional thing to go through. You might be in your feelings. What's wrong with a black man being in his feelings? When I look at Kanye, that's what I see. I see a black man that's in his feelings. We just talked about mental health. Now, do we support mental health? Are we going to create safe spaces where black men can show their emotions or not? Which is it? I think D.L. Hughley's comments, I think Trevor Noah's comments, I'm reiterating things I said yesterday, but we had so many guests, I really couldn't get into it with you. It's a Friday. I want to get into it with you this morning, but we do have a guest as well. Coming up at 8:30 a.m., U.S. Senate candidate Morgan Harper. I believe she's out of Columbus. What I'm looking for from the interview with Morgan is I want to get a sense of who she is. Of course, I'm prepared. I got plenty of questions that I want to get at her, and I want you to offer your questions as well. Here's an opportunity for you to put questions before a U.S. Senate candidate. This ain't small. Okay, that's a very important position. Now, there's a Democrat primary. She's got two challengers, so we got to get to the primary first, and I plan on reaching out to her primary challengers. I want to talk to everybody so we can get a sense of who we think is the best. But again, if elected, she'd be the first woman senator from Ohio ever. And the first black woman elected to the U.S. Senate. If I'm wrong about that, set me straight. But to my recollection, to my knowledge, that is true. That's significant. I want to know everything. I want to talk about reparations. I want to talk about the George Floyd Policing Act. I want to talk about farmers. I want to talk about Ohio's economy. I want to talk about what's different between her and her challengers. I want to talk about everything. And I invite you to join the conversation this morning coming up at 8:30 a.m. It'll be here before you know it. So I want to set the table with this Kanye topic. We'll talk to Morgan for about 30 minutes. And at 9 a.m., we'll come back to this because this needs to be talked about. Why is Kanye West being shamed because his ex-wife decided to get a boyfriend? That has no reflection on him. You know how some of these women's are. Some of these women's and men's. First thing they're going to do when their relationship grow up is they're going to grab somebody else. That's been going on since the beginning of time. Men and women do that. How is that a reflection on him? I hear people keep saying it seems so naive. They just don't understand women. They just don't understand women. And I'm not saying I do, because there's an X factor to every woman that no man will ever understand. And I hear people saying, oh, Pete Davidson, he's not attractive. He's this and that. How could she be with him? Looks don't matter to no woman. The older a woman gets, the less looks matter. That shit don't mean nothing at all. It means nothing. It don't matter. Older women will back me up on that. It's all about the connection and the conversation and how he makes her feel. And he's a comedian, so he can make her laugh. You can make a woman laugh, you can open the door. All the doors. So I never even bought into that stuff when people on the internet was like, well, how's she gonna be with him? Look around. Looks don't matter. I don't mean nothing, especially to a woman that's on the rebound. People on the rebound are susceptible. They're vulnerable. They just want somebody to talk to and make them feel good, make me feel special, take my mind off my ex and with my divorce. You know what I'm saying? I know every man thinks he's a player, but half the time when these dudes be having sexual interactions with women, it has nothing to do with them whatsoever. It's really about her. But that's a mature man's viewpoint. You got to put some years before you understand that. Some of these younger dudes think, oh, she likes my muscles. Get the fuck out of here. You don't know what you're talking about, youngster. Go sit down. Youngster, go sit down. You don't know. You have no idea. But I do. And I'm here to share it with you. And then it burns me up. I read this article where Kendu Isaacs was like, man, she keep making these songs, speaking about Mary J. Blige. So Mary J. Blige was married to Kendu Isaacs. He ended up cheating on her and having a whole relationship with somebody that he had an artist. I think he had a record company. They end up splitting. And as I said before, I don't get down like that. I'm not with the cheating. If you want to be with other people, be man or woman enough to go in and look at your partner in the eyes and tell them that, and then deal with the consequences. That's what I would say. That's what I would do. I'll just tell the wifey, this is what I'm doing, and be able to deal with the consequences, period. I'm not playing these games and I'm hiding this shit. I ain't doing none of that shit. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. And you got to be prepared for them to leave it. But most human beings are so selfish, they don't want to deal with the consequences of their own actions. I'm telling you, responsibility is a lost art. Being grown is a lost art. That ain't a thing no more. People think being grown means I pay my own bills. That's part of it. To me, being grown is you grown enough to deal with the consequences of your actions without lying and hiding. There is nothing I do in my life that I'm ashamed of at all. Whatever I've done, I did it. And if I want to, I'll do it again, period. And I'm willing to deal with any consequences that come with it. I ain't hiding. I ain't running around. I ain't doing none of that shit. What I look like? I ain't doing nothing. I can't remember lies. I got too much stuff in my head to remember some lies. I'm not doing that. But that's just me. So I do not condone what Kendu Isaacs has been doing or what he did that led to the end of his relationship. He should have been a man and walked in and told Mary J, like, look, this ain't work with me, sis. I got somebody else I'm in love with. I'm not in love with you anymore. That's a difficult thing to say. But don't punk out. Tell her. Simple as that. But I want to give you the backstory. Ever since then, it's song after song, interview after interview. She keep talking about this man. He was the worst thing ever. He put me through everything. There's a consequence to that. And the consequence is how it affects him. And I read this article in which he said it affects his business enterprise, like his business interests. Like, she keep making these songs, and some people, primarily black women, I guess, are holding it against them. And I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody telling Kanye to shut up and get over it, but nobody's telling that to Mary J. You don't hear no black woman saying, sis, is over, move on. They're like, yup, them dogs. I had me one too. Why is that? I'd like to know. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Again, now that flow is going to be interrupted because we have a guest coming in approximately like 7 minutes. And I anticipate her being very prompt, so we shall see. And I want you to hold on to it, and I'll reset the table, but I want to get to that at about 9 a.m. this morning. All right, I want to get your thoughts on that. Timothy writes, Kanye is threatening people. Man, you got half the story. Kanye is going through a fucking divorce, Tim. He's in his feelings. This ain't no normal situation. Why can't we get a man space? Because he's a black man, and he's supposed to be superhuman, and he's supposed to be like Omarion. Hey, that's what couples do. Well, everybody don't process stuff like Omarion. Omarion got super props because he didn't care. When he went on Vlad TV, and Vlad asked him, so what you think about April and your boy? You know what I'm saying? Lil Fizz, they hooked up now. He was like, oh, word? Oh, I ain't even see it. I ain't even see it. You ain't see the photograph when he was hugging her, he had his hand on her butt and said, good things come to those who wait, which is highly disrespectful, by the way. He was like, no, I ain't see it. But hey, that's what couples do. He got mass props because he handled it like a G. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he was dispassionate. He didn't care. But that's only one way to deal with a situation like that. Would he have been wrong if he was in his feeling like, when I saw it, man, I broke down because I used to have feelings for this woman. That would have made him weak, right? I'm just trying to figure out how the culture feels about this because I'm sensing a double standard. Tabitha writes, good morning, let's chop it up. Absolutely, good morning to you. Kelly Prather writes, good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning to you, Kelly. Deborah writes, good morning. Tiffany writes, good morning. Good to see you there. Let me put everybody on the screen here. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Chris writes, good morning, Choppers. David writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me get the Choppers in here, man.
Go! Get to the Choppers!
Let's do it. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you.
Get to the Choppers!
Aaliyah writes, good morning. Good morning, all. Have a wonderful day. Good morning to you. Now, before we get any deeper into our morning greetings, which I love, that's my favorite part of the show. I love being one of the first people in the media to say good morning to you here locally. We got to get a word in from our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you in part by my good friends, our good friends at Renew Community Church. They do a Sunday morning masterclass at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Sunday's topic: 3 quick steps to emotional happiness. It's a series. You deserve to feel good now. You can tap in on Facebook at facebook.com/Cincy Renew, CINCI Renew. You can tap in and subscribe on YouTube at Renew Community Church live stream. If you're interested, check out their website, 3dubs.renewcommunitychurch.org. You can download a free ebook and or sign up for perhaps personal or maybe business coaching with Charlie Winburn. Check them out. Good morning to you. Good morning. Aaliyah writes, good morning, all. Have a wonderful day. Gladys writes, good morning, Nathan Choppers. Enjoy your weekend. Kamikia writes, good morning. Woke up ready to cape for Ye again, huh? Shaking my head. I'm not caping for Ye. I'm caping for men. And in particular, I'm caping for black men. People are seeing that shit with Kanye, and I don't think they're looking at it right. I see all these posts on Facebook and Instagram. People think it's funny and making jokes. That ain't funny to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's not going to respond the way Omarion did to a situation like that. And she wasn't even his wife. This is Kanye's wife. Maybe he still loves her. Trevor Noah trying to say he's some kind of domestic abuser. I would have cussed Trevor Noah's house too. I might have called him a coon too. Shut your fucking ass up and stay out of this. You don't know what's going on over here. You don't have no idea. Maybe Kanye's still in love with her. All these women, you all want love, want a man to love. Maybe he just love her. And maybe he's in his feelings because the relationship is not what he wants anymore. That's it. People trying to turn him into some kind of domestic terrorist. He's just in love and he got a lot of money and he got a platform. So his feelings are out in front of everybody. Every time he posts, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going to see it. But a lot of men might react like that in a situation like that. You might be in your feelings. You and your wife been together for a long time. Y'all break up. At the time, you sick of her, she sick of you. You split up for a little while, you like, damn, I had a good thing going on here. And you try to get back with her, and now she got some in bed with her. You're going to be in your feelings, period. Quit acting like you not. You're going to be effed up, and that's okay. That's okay. But men have to cry in the dark, especially black men. We always got to be tough. We got to be warriors. I don't care about no B. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. Huh? That's not realistic. And so you start putting your feelings out there and these other mofos like Trevor Noah start commenting, you gonna react very, very strongly. And that's all I see. You ever heard of stay out of grown folks' business? That shit'll get you killed in the real world. Getting in somebody else's relationship will get you put in the ground. That's how emotional that is. Why don't we have any empathy and sympathy for Kanye? I don't get it. I don't understand why I'm the only one saying this. I can't be the only one who feels this way. I cannot. Roy writes, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Roy. Dee Dee writes, good morning, good people. Tell me I'm wrong. What I just say was wrong. Nothing I just said was wrong. Nothing I just said was wrong. Nothing I just said is wrong. Maybe he's still in love with her. Love ain't a thing no more? If you was in love with somebody and you wanted them back and they laying in bed with somebody else, how you gonna feel about that? You might put up a front, but behind closed doors, you're gonna be effed up. You're gonna be effed up about that. You're gonna want to touch him or her. That's okay. That's all part of this. People acting like, Kanye, she don't want you, go on. But we don't do that with Mary J. Now, it's not that Mary J still wants him. She's weaponized her music as a weapon against her ex. She want everybody to not do business with him. She want everybody to hate him. He got like a scarlet C, right, on his forehead. Cheated on Mary J. So it's a COMJ on his forehead. Cheated on Mary J. I don't care. It's over with. But nobody says that. Why? Because she's a woman. That's why. Straight up gender bias. Or am I missing something? Could be. Gail writes, good morning, Nate and listeners. It's my birthday today, celebrating a blessed life. Hey, Gail, good morning and happy birthday. Happy birthday. I'm glad you're here. That's great. Good morning to you. So as I've been telling you, we're scheduled to speak with Morgan Harper. She's scheduled to give us a Zoom call here. I see Morgan is backstage. Hey, Morgan, if you can hear me, just a wave. Okay, she can hear me. Great. Now, let me set the table here. Okay, we got some decisions to make. Big decisions. If elected, and maybe more, if I'm wrong about this, Morgan can correct me. If elected, Morgan would be the first woman senator elected from Ohio and the only black woman senator ever elected. If I'm wrong about that, she can set me straight. She can set me straight on that. But I want to hear more about her platform, and give us some insight as to what kind of senator she would be. All right, Rob Portman, out of here. Yeah, she does have 2 Democratic challengers. There's a primary process, and then you go into the general election. But let's go straight to it. And again, I know the Kanye West, I do this. So I know the Kanye West conversation is hot. We'll get back to that at 9 a.m. But I want to talk with Morgan right now. Hey, good morning, Morgan.
Hi. I'll have to tune back in for the Kanye conversation.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be hot. I got a hot take on that. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Now, was I wrong in that? If elected, those are the 2 very unique distinctions that you would be?
Yeah, we've never had a black senator from Ohio, never had a woman senator.
Wow. Okay.
And never had a senator that is truly grassroots. So even more importantly, in many ways, I want to emphasize that.
Well, I've done my homework. So some of these questions on your part, you probably heard before. So just forgive me. It's a different audience, and I just want to make sure that we hit the basics on some cases. And in some cases, I may even know the answers, but I want to make sure we get the audience the information that I think that they need. So let's start with the basics. Who are you? Are you from Ohio? If so, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so born and raised in Columbus. I was born at the Ohio State University Hospital to a teenager who wasn't ready to raise me. So I was given up for adoption. And I lived in a foster home when I was a baby, and then was adopted and raised by my mom on the east side of Columbus.
Okay. Where'd you go to school? Did you go to school here in the States? And tell us about your professional career. And have you ever run for any other elected offices?
Yeah, so, growing up, I just got early exposure to how the American dream isn't quite accessible to everyone in the same way. And that rubbed me the wrong way, kind of lit a fire in me to figure out what's going on, what can I do to make sure that everybody gets access to opportunity. And I went to college at Tufts University in Boston, learned there that there was this thing called public policy, and that none of this is by accident, that we have people in positions of power in government that are making decisions that impact our experiences on the ground. And so wanted to learn more about that. I got a master's in public policy at Princeton. I went to Stanford Law School, and eventually worked in Washington at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau after the foreclosure crisis, in the Great Recession, and really saw firsthand, just in many ways, that we don't have a policy problem. We kind of know what it would take to make sure that everybody has access to opportunity. We have a politician problem. We have a lot of people that are bought and sold out and are not looking out for us. And if that's going to change, we have to start, electing different types of people and get the money out of politics.
So how would you describe yourself? Are you a moderate? Are you conservative? Are you progressive? Like, how would you, I know that these are cookie cutter sort of words, but I mean, they are useful to some degree to give people an understanding of where you might be coming from. So how would you self-describe? How would you describe yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I definitely am on the progressive side of things based on how we currently use these labels. But to your point, I mean, I think these labels are very fluid and they kind of get put on certain people and based on who's saying it and what they're trying to accomplish. And, like the overview I just gave, I mean, my approach to these issues comes from a combination of my lived experience, my professional experience, and that have led me to believe certain policies are going to be the most beneficial for our communities. So take, for example, something like Medicare for all, universal healthcare, which I support. That is 100% considered, a progressive policy at this moment in the United States of America. But there were prior points in our history where that policy was pushed by people who would have been described as moderate Republican in other countries. This isn't even something that would be debated, right? That the fact that you should have access to healthcare regardless of what your employment situation is. So with everything, it's like, what's the problem we're trying to address? That's my approach. What's an idea to address it? And let's talk if you have other views. But when it comes to healthcare, for example, I haven't heard any other one that would accomplish universal coverage and controlling the cost of care.
My view is that if you feel the call to serve, then you should feel the call to serve. Now, I do know that, and I've read that there are some folks that have criticized you because you lost to, is it Beatty? And they're like, well, if you couldn't hold down that in a heavily, blue district, then how do you think you're going to win a statewide race? How would you respond to that?
Well, they're really different races. First off, I mean, I would say that one, the race that I ran before, it's a gerrymandered, safely Democratic seat. So the primary is the race, and I was running against an incumbent who, whenever you have an incumbent, they have a lot of advantages with name ID and just, building yourself up as a grassroots candidate who's less known is more difficult. And we also had the pandemic that hit, almost exactly 2 years ago before that election that changed the whole circumstances of what was going on. And so, in this case, I'm running for the United States Senate. And I would just say, backing up for a second, the reason why I'm running for the United States Senate and focused on federal offices is because, one, that's my professional background. And also, we need to figure out how to put Ohio on a different trajectory. For the past 20 years, most people have not been getting better off in our state, right? I mean, I was just looking at stats this morning of the top levels of child poverty, top cities with child poverty rates in the whole country. And there are not just one city from Ohio, but like 4 on that list of the top 20 cities. So that's why I am in this. I have a vision for what policies would help to improve the lot of everyday people in our state. And, I want to, and I do think that I would be well positioned to try to execute that in Washington and bring the resources we need to our community. And so in this rate, I'll just say, one more thing. This is an open seat. Rob Portman's retiring. That's a big opportunity for us in the state of Ohio, and that doesn't happen very often. And we need to make sure that we figure out how to win to fend off, the folks that are running on the Republican side that do not have our best interests at mind, that do not have any vision for accomplishing anything in government. The goal is obstruction and continuing to enrich the people that enrich them. And that's got to stop. We need to have somebody who's really going to be looking out for us.
Okay. I'm hearing just a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you got something on in the background or something like that. I'm just saying it's when you're talking.
Okay.
It's low, but I can just pick it up on my side. I'm not sure if the audience can hear it or not. I just want to mention it to you. We're speaking with Ohio U.S. Senate candidate Morgan Harper. She's a Democrat. She's got to go through the primary. And as I understand it, you've got 2 challengers. Is that correct, Morgan?
Yeah, so there are 2 other Democrats in the primary.
Okay. And so in your opinion, how are you different from your Democrat challengers in the primary?
Well, one, and I am hearing that feedback, and I don't know what's going on with that. So sorry about that.
It's all good.
Yeah. So, one, I'm the only candidate in the race that has committed to, not taking corporate PAC money. And this is a really important point. I mean, because what I saw when I was in Washington is that we have a lot of special interest influence that is bribing our politicians, from big pharma companies, big insurance, really take whatever industry you can name. And so when you have that, the result is we don't have representatives that are able to be free to just do what is right. And we need to get this money out of there. It would be great to implement campaign finance reform through legislation, but until we get rid of things like the filibuster, That's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But in the meantime, we can start electing people that are just making the commitment to not take that money, right?
Okay.
So that's a really, big difference. And then I would say too, I mean, the grassroots, there's no powerful person in the party that was like, Morgan, it's your turn. My response is it's our turn. And that's what I'm looking to do, is get to the United States Senate, not because I'm so great or who cares about my individually getting there, but really to have somebody who understands what's going on the ground, understands how Washington works, doesn't care about making a career of being there, that really is just moving with urgency to get things done. So I've also committed to self-imposed term limits, only person in the race that has done that, serving 2 terms and be ready to pass the baton. And then from, a policy perspective, only one who has committed to universal health care, stood up for things like reproductive rights are really important right now consistently. And really, coming with the vision too of, importantly, checking a lot of this concentration of corporate power that has made it really difficult for us as workers, as small business owners, to compete and gain enough wealth to really be able to invest in our communities and get ahead financially. That's the vision I have from a policy perspective as well.
Okay. So Morgan, our conversation this morning is going to be a mix of my question and also some questions for the audience. So let me go back here, because you had mentioned earlier that you did some research this morning about cities in Ohio that had the highest childhood poverty rate. Somebody wants to know, one of the choppers wants to know, can you tell us which are those cities?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was Cleveland, Dayton, Toledo, Cincinnati are all in that list. I don't remember exactly what the specific rankings were.
And since you brought it up from a federal level, because you would be at the federal level as a U.S. Senator, what needs to be done, in your opinion, to address that?
I mean, a lot of things. In some ways, we shouldn't be surprised that we find these statistics, right? Because we've had a state legislature that's been really defunding a lot of the resources that would have made sure that our schools are equitably funded to ensure good educational opportunities for people, that have stripped away a lot of social services. So what it's going to take from a federal perspective to change this is, I think, making sure that we have people that are in a more stable position and able to earn more money. So what does it look like to be stable? What does it take to be stable? One, we need to make sure that folks have housing. This isn't rocket science, and I'm not inventing any of these ideas, but housing is important. We need to be building more housing. The supply of housing is too low, and it's not keeping up with the cost of living. It's, too expensive in many areas. So making sure that we're improving the range of types of housing that's available, federal government can do something about that. We also need to be making sure that we are addressing that school funding issue. That's not a federal issue, but that is really important at the state level. It was found to be unconstitutional 20 years ago. Let's move on doing something about it, right? To make sure that we're putting our kids in environments where they are going to learn and be ready to really work and enter the workforce in a competitive way. We need to ensure that we have debt-free training and workforce opportunities for people, that you're not going to see what we've had over the past 20 years, a generation burdened with student debt. What's the population that's most impacted by this student debt? It is Black women, a lot of single Black women that have a huge debt burden. People like to talk about this is elitist issue. No, that is a red herring to make sure that we don't do anything about it. But we need to do something about that and not repeat the past 20 years there. And then we need to ensure that we are having wages keep up with the cost of living, that we're creating jobs that are going to be in sectors that will pay people enough. That's why, on the platform, I'm supporting investing at the federal level in clean energy jobs, for example, that also will create small business opportunities, create up to 600,000 of those. Those are going to be high paying jobs. And we need to have those all over the state, not just concentrating all of the new job creation in just the big cities as well. And then to make sure that those jobs are paid enough to live, we have to check what has happened to our economy over the past 40 years, which is concentration of corporate power. It makes the ultra wealthy get ahead, a few very, 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 very large corporations. And then the rest of us are kind of like just scrambling for economic scraps. This is not sustainable. And to ensure that folks can participate in the economy in a full way, you need to be a full person. We need to make sure we have universal health care, that health is taken care of, including, importantly, mental health care, including access to addiction recovery services. That needs to be standard, regardless of what your employment situation is. We do not have to live like this. And we are, in fact, the only developed country that puts people through this, that if you happen to lose your job, then you got to go through a bureaucratic process to potentially get health care, that you might have health care premiums that are the same cost of a mortgage. this is crazy and we don't have to live like this.
Morgan Harper is my guest. She is a Ohio U.S. Senate candidate, and if elected, it would be history for the state of Ohio. Drop Squad 52, who is a Black Republican. I only say this so you know the audience has some diversity to it. He writes that Congressman Tim Ryan received the endorsement from the Ohio Democrat Party. Is that true?
That is true. So I went through the screening process for the party's endorsement committee and all of that. My request was, and this is my overall goal for the political process, is that we as a party try to increase political engagement, not try to manipulate folks and not let them know their full scope of choices of all the Democrats who are running. So my request to the party was either endorse everyone who's running, because what these endorsements mean is that drives who ends up on those cards that show up in the mail. And a lot of people trust those cards to tell them who's the Democrat who's running. A lot of people aren't used to having, more competitive primaries where there are multiple candidates, multiple options. I've had people at community meetings that I've run that have been almost on the verge of tears of anger, feeling like, wait a second, if I didn't happen to hear about this event that you're doing, I wouldn't even know that you're running. So I don't think that serves us well. So anyway, my request was endorse everyone or non-endorsement. Just let people know about their choices and let the voters decide. The party didn't agree with me, but they did do that. They are going to do that for the gubernatorial race.
Okay. I mean, the party's going to do what the party's going to do. Joe Eaton is with the Ohio Buckeye Firearms Association. They seem to have a lot of influence with the governor. He wants to know, what is your view on gun rights and restrictions, again, from the federal level? What do you think needs to be done? I think we would all agree that something needs to be done. I think there's been a lot of great ideas, common sense ideas that do both. Protect the Second Amendment rights to have a weapon, but also recognize that this ain't 1776. Things done changed. Weapon technology, and also human beings, our mentality, our social structure, our family structure is different now. But what's your view on that? What's your view on gun rights and restrictions from the federal level?
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe in everyone's right to have a gun and to manage that right responsibly, like what you were suggesting. And I think there are things that could be done at the federal level to just make sure that as people, have guns, that we do know that they're able to manage that effectively. And most gun owners I talk to, of which there are obviously many in the state of Ohio, regardless of where you go. I think sometimes people like to think of this as just a rural issue or whatever, but definitely a lot of people in cities as well that own guns, agree with that and encourage those types of protections. So at the federal level, making sure we have universal background checks, making sure people who have a history of domestic violence, for example, are not able to get weapons as easily, and making sure that there's safety precautions in place and, requiring lock boxes and things like that so that we don't have accidents that result in loss of lives of children and others, unintentionally. And and this is a big issue now. I mean, I've met so many families across the state that have been impacted by gun violence in one form or another. And as I'm sure, everybody who's listening knows and also knows such folks, that you're forever changed by that. I mean, you see it in people's eyes. That never goes away when something, whether it's intentional or an accident happens, whether it's suicide. I mean, that's the other thing that we don't always talk about with some of the impact of not having stronger protections, that 60% of the incidents of gun deaths in our state are due to suicide, not even always homicide. So, and that's the other point I would make here is, in addition to those protections at the federal level, making sure that we're addressing the root causes that are also sometimes leading to these incidents of violence. Ensuring we have universal access to healthcare, making sure we're creating better job opportunities, mental health care, et cetera. It's all connected, and I think it's all possible. And we just need to make sure that we are educating people about what the stats are, and then have a clear policy agenda in Washington to get it done. But importantly, and this is also something that I believe a lot of gun owners also agree with, is organizations like the NRA are not about protecting the right to be able to own a gun. They are about muddying the waters in Washington and bribing off these politicians to make sure that we don't have a sensible conversation about this, that everything gets overly politicized and nothing gets done to be able to continue to enrich folks who fund that organization.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about like a national registry and/or background checks? If you mentioned that, I apologize, but I want to make sure I ask you that.
Yeah, no, I support universal background checks and having registry. I mentioned that, but I was talking
You
about
mentioned,
a lot.
okay,
Like,
it was just on me.
It's okay.
So let's talk about the policies. What are, and again, I know you've been asked these questions 1,000 times, but it's the chop shop, so I'll do it again. I think it's important for people to know where you're coming from. What are some of the policies that you would advocate for if you were elected a U.S. Senator? And we can go top 3, top 5, I mean, whatever is on your mind, but just give us a sense of, from a policy perspective, what would you put energy behind?
Yeah, I mean, some of them I've already mentioned, but it's all worth repeating because we are in a really critical time right now. And so, healthcare I mentioned, universal healthcare, Medicare for all. This is a top priority for me because I do think that, and we know, I mean, one of the biggest drivers of debt in our country is medical debt. That's crazy. That is crazy that you show up for some medical procedure. You don't know how much it's going to cost. Even if you have insurance, your deductible might be so high now. I just met somebody in Akron the other day that was telling me when he started out working, his deductible is like $200 and now it's over $6,000, right? And so this is not sustainable for the average working person. And we need to do something about that. So universal healthcare, Medicare for all. 2, making sure that we are creating better jobs. Over the past 20 years, most of the jobs that have been created in our state are retail jobs that pay people not a lot of money. So take, for example, I meet a lot of, especially young people, youngish, getting into the 30s, working at places like Kroger that after 7 years of working there, like a woman I met in Middletown the other day, 50 cents an hour pay increases. You can't live like that, right? And so in order to do something about that, we need to be creating better jobs, not just any job. And that's why I support creating incentives at the federal level, investing in clean energy sector. That, by the way, will also address the climate crisis, make us more energy independent so that we don't see ourselves in this vulnerable position with gas prices, for example, as well, long term. 3, the other thing that I would mention is debt-free training and education to prepare the next generation and make sure that whether you want to go to a 4-year college, whether you want to get, experience in the trades, that you are not going to be burdened with debt in order to work that. State of the future. We need to be a state of the future. We are not going to be able to do that by repeating what we've been doing for the past 20 years. And there is absolutely a vision. I have a vision for how we can ensure we are going to be better every stage of life moving forward to ensure at the root of it, what is this all about? Strong communities. What's my story about? The only way I got a chance to be in a position to live out my potential is because my mother, had one job, solid, but more importantly, in a lot of ways, we had a community around us that had the bandwidth and wherewithal and care to ensure that we would never fall back. And I wish that for every person across our state, and we can get there.
You're speaking about debt. What about student loan debt? What's your approach? What's your vision for student loan debt across the country, but in the state of Ohio as well?
I support canceling student loan debt. That's also a distinguishing position between me and some of my other Democratic primary opponents. And, sometimes, and I was referencing this a little bit earlier, folks like to frame this as some giveaway for irresponsible young people who took on debt. Well, let's talk about who's taken on debt. First of all, we have a lot of people who are now into their 40s. Okay. People like to talk about millennials as if they're going to be young forever, but now millennials are into their 40s that have this level of debt burden, that cannot buy homes because they have multi-$100 debt payments that they have to pay for and aren't able to be free to make other types of investments. We have grandparents, and I worked at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau after the financial crisis. We did research on this. Grandparents that have been the guarantors of some of this debt that now later in life find themselves also burdened with this. So this is a working class issue for people across the state of Ohio, across the country. We are more than comfortable, it appears, in Washington giving tax breaks to very large corporations to allow them to have room to invest. We need to have that same support for real people and just eliminate it. It will be an economic boon, and it'll ensure, even more importantly, that we have people who believe that we're going to fulfill our promises, because this was a promise made in the last election, and will continue to be motivated to show up to vote.
Yeah, that's a huge. Let me drill down this a little bit more, because I think there's more to it. So you say you're in favor of canceling student loan debt. For whom? Is there a dollar amount? Do you make a distinction between people who have been paying their student loan payments on a regular basis, those who have not? Let's drill down just a little bit and tell me, what your thoughts are.
So there are a few ideas that are on the table. I support having some baseline amount, whether that's 20,000, 30,000 to cancel folks' debt, especially people who have attended, public institutions. But I mean, the main point is this is how the legislative process is supposed to work. When we have a functioning US Congress, you take the idea, we want to cancel student debt. We want to make sure that we're creating economic opportunity for working people across our country. We bring the experts in, people from the CFPB, people who have been directly impacted by this, folks who have this debt burden, have hearings in Congress, develop the legislation, make adjustments based on that input, and then pass it. But the issue is right now that we don't get to the level of having those conversations because we have a US Senate that's not functioning to pass legislation because of things like the filibuster, because we have one whole party and some people even within our own party that are trying to obstruct things. So there are a lot of ideas on the table, and I'm curious and want to get more information about all of them. But at a minimum, I support some level of just blanket canceling a certain amount, perhaps $30,000, but then also looking at how, that jives with other programs that are in existence, like existing forgiveness programs as well. We don't want to have people that have been on the road to potentially getting their loans forgiven, not qualify for that anymore with good intentions of trying to cancel some baseline amount.
Yeah, this is a working class issue that affects a lot of people. That's why I want to spend a little bit more time with it. So would you be in favor of canceling student loan debt that's $80,000, $100,000? And again, would you make a distinction between people who have been making payments and there's some people who haven't been able to afford to make payments at all or very sporadically? Would you also be in favor of forgiving their student loan debt? And if so, in its entirety, or how do you see that?
I mean, it's a little tough to say in the abstract, but I am supportive of all ideas that reduce the student burden load for people across this country. And then, let's talk about the details, and then let's look at what the different impacts would be and how it all works together. But I support canceling some amount of student debt for every person who has student debt currently in this country. And then we can get into the details and drafting the legislation about who exactly qualifies or not.
Have you been satisfied with the job that the Biden administration has been doing? And if so, tell me why. And if not, tell me why not.
Well, one, I mean, I do absolutely believe that the Biden administration has been an improvement on what we had before. I, for example, started with some volunteers in the Central Ohio area, rideshare program, get people to polls to vote in November to make sure that we had a change in federal leadership. But, and making sure we had better leadership on the pandemic, and also, being able to implement policies that are going to potentially be game changing. I mean, a lot that was proposed in Build Back Better could be a huge game changer for most people in our state. Looking at expanding what Medicare covers, for example, child tax credit, when we talk about reducing child poverty rates, proven to do that. And so those types of policies, really important and effective. But when we talk about canceling student debt, which was a commitment made while campaigning, well, that hasn't happened yet. And that's not cool, right? So, it's not a blanket approval by any means, but definitely an improvement on what came before. And I do think that, on certain issues like canceling debt, like pushing forward an, aggressive climate agenda, there's still room for improvement. But when we also look at it, with some of the legislative blocks, it has been the fact that we have things like the filibuster that make it difficult to pass legislation. But I wouldn't put student debt in that category. There is a way to cancel some amount of student debt through an executive order. And I do think that President Biden should do that.
You talked about the filibuster. If you were in the Senate, would you support or would you not support? Should we do away with the filibuster? Like right now, it seems like not Congress, but the Senate is not working right? Mm-hmm. Like it's been rigged, right? Modern day politicians have figured out how to rig it for their advantage, whether they're in power or out of power. What needs to change, in terms of the rules of the Senate, in your opinion, in order to be more effective for the people?
I do support getting rid of the filibuster. It has now become a block to having an institution of our government, U.S. Congress, passing legislation, which is its whole role, right? And so if that's not possible, then why do we have this institution? We don't have a functioning government at the federal level. And so I support getting rid of the filibuster for that reason. But overall, what has happened to our country in many ways, both our government, democracy, U.S. Senate, our economy is that about 40 years or so ago, I mean, we started deregulating a lot of things. We allowed money to influence politics. And so we have seen an accumulation of power in just a few very large corporations that has fed ultra wealthy. It's the financialization of our economy that has made it really difficult for small, medium-sized businesses, workers to compete and get paid what you are deserved because of that work. And because of the deregulation and the change in campaign finance laws, we have allowed those same select few who have accumulated all this wealth to essentially buy off our government through corporate PACs that they contribute to campaigns of our politicians, through all the lobbying, the billions of dollars spent on lobbying, all the ads that they put to try to confuse the issue. And we don't have a functioning democracy right now. I mean, we need to be honest about that. And so for that to change, we have to see people who are going in there, who are more grassroots, who don't have this influence of the corporate money, and who are going to get in there and be honest about what's going on, propose ideas that could actually do something about it, and build coalition of more of those people so that we can get to the place of getting rid of things like the filibuster and actually having this institution of government serve us.
Speaking with Morgan Harper. Hey, Morgan, if elected, well, let me back this up. Let me approach it this way. Are you aware of, and if so, would you be in favor of, if you were a senator, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act?
Yeah, I am in favor of that. And this is another thing when we talk about, some disappointments over the last few months. So, for example, I support ending qualified immunity. And that's one thing that it seems like, folks in Congress have been comfortable in letting go when we talk about issues around police reform. And that's disappointing to me. I mean, and here's why. So, and I'm going to emphasize here, even in speaking to a lot of law enforcement officers, there is an acknowledgement that there are incidents that do not align with the values of the majority of law enforcement officers, that we have, folks who are supposed to be protecting public safety that sometimes are resulting in the loss of life, and there's fault involved there. And like anyone, when we violate people's rights, when we break the law, there should be accountability. And as long as we have this judicial precedent of qualified immunity, then we have certain people who are free of accountability. And then that doesn't change behavior and change the incentives of behavior. So to me, that is not controversial. And so I do support, having those types of reforms, and importantly, keeping the policy of ending qualified immunity as part of that full suite of legislative proposals.
Morgan, voices have been rising, and it seems like there is more conversation that we've had in a long time around reparations. What is your view on reparations? Are you in for it? Are you in favor of it? If you are in favor of it, in what form? In what form? And why? And is this an important issue in your opinion?
This is a really important issue. I, as you mentioned, I ran a couple of years ago, prior cycle here in Central Ohio, and also had what I like to call it systemic reparations as part of my platform. And the reason why, and this is where I'm coming from generally, is we have issues that are going on, we have policies to address them, and then let's talk about what those policies could be informed by other people's opinions. I'm not pretending in any way to have it all figured out here. And when it comes to something like reparations, how I always break it down is we have had policies at the federal level that have resulted in the Black community not being able to build wealth in the same way. So what's an example of one of those policies? Well, redlining, federal housing policy that it made it more difficult for us to be able to get mortgages. Having a home is one of the primary ways that the average middle-class person builds wealth in this country. So if we weren't able to access that asset in the same way, and then not have an asset to pass on to the next generation, well, then you start to see an explanation for the wealth gap that we currently find ourselves in this country. And I find when you break it down like that, one, a lot of people are not always aware that these policies existed because we don't always tell or do a good job of educating folks of what's come before in our country. But once you break it down like that, a lot of people agree. A lot of people of all backgrounds agree. Yeah, one, I didn't know that. And yeah, that's not right. And what do we do when we have a wrong? We need to right it. And what would that look like? So taking, for example, housing policy. okay, well, then why would we have elders who continue to live in these communities paying property taxes and be at risk of potentially losing this asset that then could be passed on to the next generation? So we could think about policies like waiving property taxes when you're at that stage of life, and making sure that that asset is protected in the family, having a home, especially as certain areas are gentrifying, the property values are increasing in a lot of cities, especially in Ohio, but really, everywhere. But then it could look like other things. I mean, creating, a pool of forgivable loans for starting businesses or what have you. But the most important thing to me is being honest about what's the problem, what's the issue, getting and building support around that issue, and then proposing what can we do about it. And I found that you can bring a lot of different types of people into the systemic reparations conversation that way.
A little early in the conversation, you mentioned the financialization of the government, which I thought, wow, that's interesting. And
of the economy.
The economy. And I thought, wow, that makes sense. I can see it. And it reminded me that you worked with Richard Cordray with the Consumer Financial Protective Bureau. Is that right? Did I say that right? Protection Bureau.
Almost. Protection Bureau. Yeah.
Protection Bureau. Right. Tell us about your work there. I mean, because as I understood it, that was huge. And the work they were doing was pretty significant for working class folks in terms of protecting us as consumers. Is it working the way, of course, you've got a new administration. Is it working the way that it was initially thought it would? And if so, just tell us about the work you did there.
Yeah, the CFPB, as it's also known as, was hugely impactful. And just to give people a little bit of background on what that is. So, CFPB was created after the foreclosure financial crisis, because part of the analysis of why we got into that place, the subprime mortgage crisis and all the repercussions after that, was we had regulators in Washington that were more or less asleep at the wheel. The regulatory authority to be able to monitor the mortgage market was spread throughout all these different agencies. And it kind of gave everybody the ability to just throw their hands up and say, oh, well, that was somebody else's responsibility, right? But when we have financial products that consumers are taking on, not just big business that maybe has a little bit more of a cushion to absorb risk, we need to have somebody that is a watchdog and really paying attention to what's going on in these markets. So that's why the CFPB was created. And we did, great work. When I started there, I was in the Office of Regulations, writing rules. Not the most glamorous work, but that ends up, especially when we have the polarized Congress like we were talking about, a lot of these regulatory agencies are the only way that we're really moving through a lot of rules that become laws and have the ability to actually get implemented. And so I worked on a rule to regulate the prepaid card market for the first time. I don't know, folks familiar, like Green Dot cards and Rush Card. These, were emerging in the early 2010s, but hadn't really had a regulatory scheme that was applying to them. So it was kind of, free for all, Wild West. And we were able to implement rules to just make sure that, you didn't have fees that were just randomly getting charged for things that people had no idea where they were coming from. Or if your money was lost on one of those cards, that the company was on the hook for making sure that you're able to recover those funds, for example. And then after, doing that for a bit, that's when I moved up to become one of Richard Cordray's policy advisors, and then really had, a portfolio of issues that I was responsible for, including payday lending. Ohio used to be one of the states with the highest interest rates in the country on payday loans, and bringing attention to those issues was a big priority of the agency. We developed rules that were going to be the first federal level rules to apply to that market. And we can get into detail what happened there, but we had a change of administration, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole nother conversation. But, I was looking at that credit reporting. It used to be that you wouldn't know so easily what your credit score was, but through CFPB's work, we were able to bring more transparency there. And overall got $12 billion back to 28 million consumers in just a few years. And so, yeah, CFPB is huge. During the Trump administration, there was a lot of stripping away of resources to make sure that the agency wasn't as impactful. But now there's a new director, and really bringing back a lot of vigor to what the CFPB is up to.
Speaking with Morgan Harper. So Morgan, and we started to show the interview with this, that if elected, you would be the first woman senator from Ohio and the first Black woman senator elected from Ohio as well. That's correct.
Yes.
Is that something, and again, I know you've probably been asked this before, but is that something that you think that voters should consider? And if so, why?
Well, I do think representation matters. And, currently there are no Black women in the Senate, and that is pretty wild. I mean, based on our population makeup as a country. So representation matters, but I also want to emphasize, and this is what I was getting at when we started there, is, but what type of representative you're going to be matters to me just as much. What do you stand for? What's your policy agenda? And are you going to be, truly for the people, grassroots, not having the, as much of this corporate influence? And so I think it's both. And, both matter. I believe, both in terms of the representation, but then also in a policy agenda that I think is going to serve us. I'm hitting the mark and look forward to just continuing to talk to more people about, what we need from our leadership in the United States Senate, and hopefully people buy into my being that leader.
Well, Morgan, thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. It's been very interesting. I hope that we can stay connected, and I wish you the best. Yeah,
no, for sure. And if I could just say one more thing, because
Sure.
Just to make sure folks have all the information, it's a little bit of a strange time politically, like always in Ohio, but I don't know how much you've talked about this on the podcast already, but with the redraw and the maps and all of that, we think the primary will be May 3rd, but there's the chance that the date moves. And so, we're potentially just a little under 50 days out from our primary. And we have a real decision to make as, people who identify as Democrats, participate in Democratic primaries in our state. We have not done a great job in a lot of these Senate races of picking the person that's going to put us in the most competitive position in the general. We have run a lot of people that are presented to us as the safe choice that tends to not really look like someone as much like me, and they have lost. And I can get into all the details and naming names and all that, but we don't have time for that. But I really encourage people to recognize that we have an opportunity here to send a signal that we know what we need, that we have the ability to win when we come together and really mobilize for that. And we have done that before. We have done that before in our state, and we need to do it again, because a lot of people who are running on the Republican side, we don't know who's going to come through that primary, do not have our best interests at heart, do not care about making government work for anybody. They are just trying to advance themselves and protect a lot of people who fund them. And we need to have a counter to that, and a meaningful, substantive counter, and really mobilize a historic level of turnout across Ohio if we're going to have any hope of winning this seat. So I'm only running because I think I put us in the best position to do that. And I just encourage folks to continue to follow along, reach out if you have any other questions. MH4OH on all social platforms, and morgan@morganharper.org is my email.
Hey, Morgan, one last question. I'm notorious for this, but I have to ask you about this. I'd be remiss in my duties as a talk show host. What type, if elected as a U.S. Senator, what type of federal judges and/or Supreme Court judges would you support or would you be looking for? Because right now we're talking about the nomination of the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. If elected, you very well could have an opportunity to vote on other Supreme Court justices. What type of characteristics would you be looking for in a Supreme Court justice?
Yeah, I think it's really important. And there, representation matters for sure. But in this case, there was the commitment to have a Black woman who was nominated. And so, but there were a few that were in consideration. And then we get into, okay, well, what do you stand for? What are some of your past decisions telling us about who you might be inclined to side with moving forward? And that comes into a few different categories. So for example, making sure that you're not always having judicial decisions that side with big business over workers, over, a more competitive economy. And that's really important to me based on, as I was saying earlier, some of the economic issues that are facing us as a country, as a community, as a state. Also making sure that we have someone in one of these positions that understands the complexities and the weaknesses and challenges within our existing criminal justice system. So, I was really happy to see that the nominee had a background as a public defender, and being able to bring, a full range of understanding to that position. And then right now, especially with a lot of movement that's happening in the Supreme Court around reproductive rights, it's really important to have someone who is going to stand up for that right. I have always stood up for that right. And I'll just say, I know sometimes that this issue can be presented as pretty controversial. People have different views on it. And, and I'm someone who was adopted, that even that can sometimes be thrown against me when I say that I stand up and support abortion access. I was like, well, you wouldn't even be here if someone had aborted you. And all true. But at the heart of it, it is a person being able to make their decision in that moment. And that is also an economic issue when we really dig into it. And so it's very important to me that we have, people on the Supreme Court that are going to respect our rights and really make sure that we protect them.
Morgan, thank you for your time. I wish you the best. And again, let's stay connected. Thank you for your time again.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Talk to you
Most
soon.
def. That's Morgan Harper, everybody. I'm not sure if that's the first time. I know she's done a bunch of interviews. They've done a bunch of debates, and perhaps you've seen her other places, but I wanted to make sure we got a chance to talk with us here with the Chop Shop, and give me your thoughts. What do you think? I mean, God, I could spend 3 hours talking to her, literally. In every second, every question I asked her, I've got 2 or 3 follow-ups I could have given her, but we just don't have enough time. So I wanted to try to give us a nice little overview and hit the major points and maybe drill down here and there. And I think I did that, but I want to get a sense of what you think about Morgan Harper. And she's certainly right about that May 3rd primary. We don't know because the Ohio Supreme Court keeps kicking back the maps that the Republican majority is submitting because it's heavily gerrymandered. I'm going to reach out to the other Democrat candidates, and so we can get a sense of who everybody is, because this is Ohio. I'm broadcasting live in Cincinnati. What happens in Columbus matters to Cincinnati. It matters to all of us. So I'm doing my due diligence. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about her. But first, we're going to take a quick little break. I'll come right back. Don't go anywhere. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, live, local, and vocal, brought to you by Sin Digital Media. And their mission is simple: amplify Black and brown voices. We'll be right back.
Love interrupted by tragedy, lost in the drought of nightfall, running in search of the remedy, trying to find her place in it all, focused only on the negative. All she can attract is pain. Perception is what will manifest. Thought she could escape, but it's all the same. Birds fly south for the winter, but she ran to the west side. And though much was stolen, much still abides. And I know she'd rather keep her distance, but as time moves on, she's drifting away from me. But did the ocean breeze pacify you? Did the palm trees sanctify you? I bet the ocean breeze did advise you that you'll never find you on the run from yourself, on the run from yourself. Concrete will shape quick.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's the last honest place in Cincinnati media. It's the Nathan Ivey Show. Today's show is brought to you in part by my friends over at Renew Community Church. They do a Sunday morning live stream masterclass at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Sunday's topic: 3 quick steps to emotional happiness. It's a series. You deserve to feel good now. You can watch live on Facebook at facebook.com/CCRenew. And you can also watch live on YouTube at Renew Community Church live stream. They also offer a free ebook and personal coaching or maybe business coaching. All you have to do is go to their website, 3dubs, as in W's, renewcommunitychurch.org. Good morning. So I want to reset the table a bit here. We just spoke with Morgan Harper. I appreciate her time this morning, keeping us up to date, keeping us educated about what's going on. I'm Nathan Ivey, a.k.a. Flo Sinatra, a.k.a. M.A. Greatness, a.k.a. One Man, One Microphone, One Mission, a.k.a. I.V. Straight Bar E. Good morning to you. Let's get back into it. Since we doing AKAs, I can do it too. Good morning to you. So what'd you think? I'd like to know what you thought. What'd you think of her? Also, I want to get back into our cover story. Our cover story is we're talking about Kanye West. Somebody said it's not a hot topic. We're tired of it. I think my take is hot. I haven't heard anybody with this take. I've got a unique perspective on it, something that I feel very strongly about. Like, why is Kanye West being shamed because his ex-wife has a boyfriend? You don't have no control of what another person does. You have no control. You in a long time, or you in a marriage or short term, whatever marriage relationship with somebody, y'all split for whatever reason, that other person is going to do what they want to do. And we already know how some women are. Where the women's at? We know how you are. Some women's, when they break up with one dude, they're going to run right to another dude. It's called the rebound. That's how some women's are. Tell me I'm wrong. Some of your girlfriends might even suggest it. Girl, get you a new one and get over him. So that's what Kim Kardashian is doing. See, I see these issues as just bigger than just them. They're dealing with the kind of stuff that we all deal with. Everybody's dealt with a breakup. You know what I see when I look at Kanye West? I see a motherfucking musical genius. That's what I see, number one. But I see a man who's just in love. Maybe that's what the issue is. Trevor Noah out here talking about he's a stalker. Look, Trevor, just because something happened to your mama, and I'm very sympathetic and it's tragic, it don't mean that every man is acting like the man that did something to your mama. A lot of human beings project the trauma that happens to them or happened to them onto other people in other situations. Why? Because they're sensitive to it. All right. Kanye West is harmless. I want to say shout out to Big Draco. Shout out to Big Draco this morning. Big Draco understands, a.k.a. Soulja Boy. He posted a video where he was telling, what's his name, Pete Davidson, the new boyfriend of Kim Kardashian, watch your mouth, homie. You out here talking about, these are married people. These are, getting involved in married people's relationship will get you cut into little pieces. Don't you know that? You don't get involved with somebody else's business like that. And if you're the rebound boyfriend, I think there's an etiquette to it. Now, you can do what you want to do, but that shit catches up with you, homie. Anybody can get caught. Anybody can get touched. Don't think you untouchable, Pete. Don't think you can't be in the same situation with a woman you love in the near future. Just bad taste. This whole thing with D.L. Hughley, I understand that Kanye threatened him, but I mean, if you get threatened by somebody that you know is either got some mental health challenges or is in their feelings, you're going to respond like it's some kind of serious threat. I don't do that. Maybe I'm different. But every little thing a man say to me, it depends on whether I feel like they a threat. If you ain't no threat to me, I give you a pass. If you a threat, that's another issue. This little small stuff. Who got time for the small stuff? Life's too short. D.L. Hughley is wrong in the way that he's been responding. He's been responding like he's shaming Kanye because his ex-wife got a girlfriend or he got a boyfriend. And you know what it is? It goes back to black men are not allowed to be openly dealing with mental health issues. Black men are not allowed to be in their feelings. We got to act like Omarion. What did Omarion say when DJ Vlad was asking him about his baby mama, his ex-girlfriend hooking up with his bandmate Lil Fizz? What'd he say famously? We all loved it, right? I don't feel no ways. That's what couples do, right? With a little smile. Oh, he was a G for that. That's gangster. That's what Lil Boosie said. Omarion handled that like he was from the streets. I saw the video. So that's the only way a black man can deal with it? Yo, check it. Maybe Kanye is in love with Kim. Maybe he realizes he made a mistake. Maybe he's trying desperately to get back with the woman that he loves. I mean, they do have children together. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's like every other motherfucker out here who can get in their feelings sometime, and sometimes they get away from you. Why got to be he a stalker and he's dangerous and he's crazy? The motherfucker got his feelings hurt. Don't act like you ain't never had your feelings hurt before. Don't act like that. Quit fronting. But I know, everybody got to have armor on. You got to be tough. Nothing matters. I don't care. I don't care what a bee do. That's her body. I don't care what he do. I don't care what my wife do. Huh? That ain't realistic. Trevor Noah, keep your mouth closed. We don't want to hear what you think about their relationship. Shut the fuck up. You out here trying to score points with the women's. Like, I support the women's. You trying to score points with the women's and using the tragedy of their relationship. That's what you're doing. Hey, Drop, I know you're on the line, brother, coming straight to you. Same thing with DL. You trying to use this tragedy to score points and make yourself look a certain way. I think it's beneath them. I think less of the people involved, quite honestly. I do. That's just me. But I'm just built a little differently than some of these regular degular Negroes out here. I'm not a regular degular Negro. That's basic. I'm not basic. You know what I'm saying? Leave that man alone. The same way if you was going through a divorce and you caught up in your feelings, you might be saying the dumbest shit out. People gonna do dumb shit when they get emotional. Tell me I'm wrong. Meanwhile, Mary J has weaponized her music career against her ex. Got whole albums and whole songs talking about him. Why? It's over. And where are the black women's? Why ain't you saying nothing to Mary J? Kendu, let me get this real quick. Kendu, this ain't no hot take. This is a super fire hot take. Hold on, because it's the truth. It needs to be told. Nothing is hotter than the truth. I mean, if you type Mary J right now, I guarantee you one of the top things that come up in your Google search is her talking about how she got cheated on. That was fucking years ago. It was years ago. Get over it. Get you a new boo like Kim did. But that's okay. It's okay for her to weaponize her music, and that's what she's done. She's weaponized her music, try to hurt that black man because he hurt her feelings. Nobody says a word. Where you at, Tracy? Where you at, Jerica? Where all the pro-black women's in the chop shop at? Nobody says a word. But Kanye is crazy. Stop it. I ain't having it. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Mr. Ivey. Oh, Nate. Man, you are funny as hell with this Kanye topic. And oh, by the way, it's Friday. I ain't got no job. Oh, that's right. I'm retired. How you doing, Nate?
I'm excellent, brother. How you doing?
Man, you are killing me, Nate. You had me laughing my ass off over here. But stay on this topic, brother. Stay on this topic. And before I get to that, I just want to give a shout out to Miss Morgan. Morgan Harper. I wish her the best of luck, and she definitely has a future in politics. Now, Nate.
Yeah, she's sharp.
I noticed some, huh?
I said she's sharp.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, man, she looked good. Senator Ronald Lackey, you got some competition out there. But I know Ronald Lackey running for state senate. But Nate, something is going on with this Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson, Kanye West, Trevor Noah, old-ass D.L. Hughley. Mr. Ivey, what color is Pete Davidson?
I believe he's a white male. I think. He appears to be a white male.
Yeah, he looks white. He ain't Sean King. He is white. Nate, what is wrong? Did Kanye, was he the one who finally made Kim Kardashian say, I might go black, but I ain't going back?
You sound like D.L. Hughley. That's what he said on Twitter.
Mr. Ivey, these people are entertainers. They are media savvy. Kanye West is a multi-billionaire. Kim Kardashian is a billionaire. I don't know, Mr. Ivey. Again, it's a personal thing, and they have a family, and it's sad to see that family is broken up, and these entertainers like Pete Davidson and DL and Trevor Noah playing these games in the streets, trying to get clicks and all that kind of stuff. It is what it is. We live in that environment. But Mr. Ivey, you had me dying laughing. You right on point with everything you said. You throwing in some cussing today. Man, Mr. Ivy, I wasn't even gonna call, but you just had me dying, and it's rare that you have me laughing like this. I mean, but you on one, stay on it because it's Friday and it's Free Flow Friday. So again, Mr. Ivy, it's something going on. Kim Kardashian is laying up with a white dude. I don't know, Nate. Maybe she's saying Kanye West. That's it. No more brothers in my life. So thank you for taking my call.
I don't know,
Mr. Ivy.
Never go back for too long.
Well, we'll find out. We will find out because I got a feeling this little story, this scenario that's happening with those 4 people, and it's going to be probably more jumping in because they're looking at the algorithms, Nate. And you've been on YouTube long enough. You know how those algorithms work. If you saying the wrong thing or not saying the right thing, your shit gonna get pushed to the back. But again, this is Kanye West, and the man has a huge following as well as Kim Kardashian. And I want to give a shout out to Kim because she's pretty much, I haven't heard her comment very much publicly, but again, who knows what's being done on Instagram and all those other places where I don't mess around with. But anyway, I'm going to let you go, Nate. I'm sure it's other people want to call in, especially Tracy. Where you at, Tracy? You've been trying to trigger her. Tracy. You've been trying, Nate. I hope she calls in. But anyway, thank you for taking my call, Mr. Ivy. It's Friday. I ain't got no job. Oh, that's right. I'm retired. Drop Squad 52. Drop it to anyone who wants to catch it. Be safe in them streets, choppers.
Hey, be safe, brother. Appreciate the calls. He dropped a silence. He was hilarious for that. Don't forget, I'm going to do a special broadcast today at 1 p.m. And I'm doing a special broadcast to speak with a special guest. Her name is Cerise Castle, and she has been exposing the history of the L.A. deputy gangs. I'll say it again. The L.A. Sheriff Department deputy gangs. She's saying that there's gangs, white supremacist gangs inside the L.A. Sheriff's Department. They've been operating for a while. I think it's fascinating. And it makes you wonder, is that happening where you live? I told her I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you won't believe what she said about the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. You will not believe it. So make sure you tap in at 1 p.m. today. If you miss it, you don't get a notification, we'll go live from CDM's page here on Facebook. Then I'll play the clips again on Monday for you. You can check it out. But I saw her on the Breakfast Club, and I thought, you know what? That's one of the best interviews they've ever done. One of the best interviews I've ever heard them do before. So I want to talk to her. Jerica writes, is this her only song? No, it's not her only song. You talking about Kendu? No. And again, that's her brand. Her brand is, pain music. Negro did me wrong, and now I'm trying to get back. I'm going to survive. That kind of thing. And again, I don't make light of it because I think obviously she has an audience because she's connecting, but nobody ever challenges Mary J on that, especially none of the black women's. Y'all don't say a damn word, just like with your friends. Y'all friends do stuff that if a man did it, you say he was basically Satan on earth. But when your friends do it, it's like, hee, kiki, it's funny. Huh? Where is the consistency? TNT writes, she was awesome. Speaking of Morgan Harper. Oh, yeah, she's sharp. She was definitely sharp. I mean, you have to make your decision for yourself. We'll see if she gets through the primary. And I plan on talking with all of the challengers, all of the candidates between now and the primary. And, I'll give them all the same amount of time. And there'll probably be some similar questions as well. I want to get a sense of who they are. And then you can make your own decision. Like you may go back to their websites and figure out for yourself whether you think, again, I don't do political endorsements because the door is open for anybody. We'll talk to independents here. We'll run ads for independents, Democrats, Republicans. As long as it's not somebody who I think is an overt threat to our community and they on some racist-ish or some dumb-ish, we got space for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I would never run any ads for Bruce Hoffbauer because I thought he was bad for the black community specifically. I don't need your money. Keep it. Go spend your money other ways, not over here. If it's a difference of policy agreement, that's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, people got differences in policy agreement. I'm not here to restrict somebody's access because of that. So Ron writes, you are definitely the only one with this monthly flow. Yeah, I guess so. Absolutely. Nathan Samuels. I've been Nathan Luther King. That's another AKA, Nathan Luther King. And now Nathan Samuels. Let me write these down. Nathan Luther King. And now Nathan Samuels. I think Kevin Samuels gets a bad rap. Actually, the brother's on point. I like him. Kevin writes, back to the candidate. Don't nobody care about Ye and Pete. It's not about Ye and Pete. It's that people are missing it. It's about us. Because how many people have had relationships that ended? Probably every last one of us. How many people out there have had marriages that ended? Well, about 55% of marriages end. So it ain't really about them. It's about the evergreen issues that are present in the conversation. That's what I do. That's my wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? So what I see, I want to reiterate what I see. What I see is a black man is in his feelings because he's lost a woman that he loves. Now, you might say, hey, he should react this way or react that way, but that's what I see. I don't see somebody that's like a domestic abuser, people trying to call him a stalker. Black man in love, he want his woman back, and now he a stalker. Stop it. Love ain't a thing no more. And let me get this article with Kendu Isaacs. You got to see this. You think I'm making it up, don't you? He said Mary J's music basically has been weaponized against him. And that it's affected his business. Mary J quietly settles divorce with ex Kendu Isaacs before her big night at the Oscars. You want to know what date that was? March 5th, 2018. God damn it, that was 4 years ago. And she's still caught up with what happened. And I guess it was emotional. I'm not trying to make light of it, but I'm just saying, like, you want the world to hate your ex because he cheated on you? Come on, yo. Come on, yo. Don't nobody say a damn thing about it. Don't nobody. That's a form of stalking. She has weaponized her R&B music. It's a weapon against her ex. I mean, listen. Do I feel sorry for Kendu? I mean, hey, you know, it comes with the territory. You know what I'm saying? You knew you was dealing with a pop star. You knew the possibility of it, but I'm just saying, I want to make this point this morning. What do you think? Kevin writes, you can't bring on the fire caddies and then discuss dumb shit, Nathan Ivey. I disagree with all of that. I absolutely can. So what you telling me, Kevin, and you got this completely wrong, is I'm supposed to talk about Morgan Harper for the rest of the show? There's nothing stopping you from bringing up your thoughts and your feelings about her. The floor is there. But this is not a dumb shit topic. You just don't understand, bro. That's why I'm here, because I understand. I understand completely. Jared writes, he's using his family to clout chase, in my opinion. I got no respect for it. He's using his family. Who's using their family, Jared? Who's using their family? I don't understand. Vernon writes, then Kanye should have kept his business on the internet. All I'm saying is I make a distinction between just normal everyday folks on the internet. You're right about that, Vernon. You put something on the internet, people are going to react. I'm talking about people like Trevor Noah getting involved. You're a big time star. Stay the fuck out of it. Go do whatever you go get some jokes together for your next show or something like that. Stay out of their business. We don't need to hear your opinion about another person's divorce. And D.L. Hughley. And people said, I forget who it was yesterday, and I did see it. They were like, nah, because I made the point that D.L. got his own skeletons. And what I said is that D.L. doesn't want somebody bringing that ish up. I know he brings it up because that's how I know about it. I saw the video, him talking about it on Vlad TV. What I said was he wouldn't like it if somebody else was bringing up his dirt, throwing it in his face. DL had a baby out of wedlock, cheated on his wife, and then wasn't there for the child. The child got abused by the baby's mama's boyfriend and was killed. I blame DL. You the father? I blame him. He don't want somebody getting all into that. People stay away from it because it's highly emotional. It might even be called disrespectful to throw it up in a man's face. Right? You don't hear nobody throwing it up in his face. You didn't see Kanye West throw that in his face. Kanye was talking about how he was dressed. All I'm saying is levels to it. It's levels to it. It's just some places you shouldn't go. That's all I'm saying. But I know in today's world, it's all about the clicks and whatever gets you more likes and whatever gives you more visibility and whatever you got to do to get more Twitter followers and more IG followers, anything goes. Okay. I get it. I mean, it's the world we live in. I'm just saying, damn, we ain't got no standards. So I make a distinction, Vernon, from big time stars like D.L. Hughley and people like me, you and me, just average Joes out here. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Gladys writes, 100% with you, Gladys. Thank you, Gladys. Thank you. Finally, the women's stood up and kept it 100. Finally. Shiva writes, in addition to all that you are saying, those are his children. Every parent has a right to be concerned about the kind of person is around their children. Divorce is messy. Thank you, Shiva. Those are his babies. She is correct. You get divorced. You don't know who these strange people are around your children. You in your feelings, one, because you in love and you can't be with the person you love. You in your feelings, two, because you don't have the same access to your kids that you used to. And now this nigwa who's being super careless and super reckless, talking ish to you, is the same person that's in the environment with your children. That's going to raise your antennae. It's going to make you feel like, I got a problem here. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And there are very few people, because I can't say 100%. There are very few people that if you were in a similar situation, you wouldn't be in your feelings. I might be in your feelings. Now, I might deal with it differently. I might feel all of this stuff, but I ain't going to put it on social media, because let's say me and the wifey break up and it's, it's contentious and she got some new nigwa, right? She all up on Instagram with the new nigwa. I'm going to feel a certain way about that. Maybe. I probably would. I'm not going to go on social media, even if I wanted to, because I wouldn't want her to know. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. I'm an asshole like that. I'm a Virgo. I'm in my feelings, but you'll never know about it. That kind of ish. That's the way I would deal with it. Kanye West is dealing with it differently. That's all I'm saying. But let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan Ivey.
What up, Kev?
What's up, man?
Yeah, welcome to the show.
So, thank you, bro. That was a fire interview. Now, I'm sorry, man, but get to the candidate. I don't want to talk about this Pete stuff. And I get it. I understand what you're saying about fairness and equity and all that stuff, and that it's Friday. But you can't bring on fire candidates, bruh, and then not discuss the fire candidate. Okay.
We've discussed it.
Sounded amazing. I absolutely. I'm trying to pivot this back. I ain't even gonna lie. I'll tell the truth. I'm trying to pivot this back. Anyway, sounds fantastic, right? But there's a couple of questions. You ran for Senate. You weren't able to win. I know she said, well, it's different because now it's an open seat as opposed to kind of a legacy candidate situation and things like that. But I need to know, has she gained ground? I still don't know who this person is. I'm pretty astute on politics, and I vaguely remember her running, a campaign before, but you trying to win in Cincinnati, Toledo, and all of these places, and I haven't seen any ads on television or anything that's, kind of hyping you up. And I heard her say something about grassroots, but I didn't hear a call to action where she said, hey, join my campaign and help me win. I heard her say, go to my website at the very end there. I'm just like, man, how do you have an opportunity to really make an impact, given that there's people out there like a Josh Mandel who really does have, name recognition and other folks like that who I 100%, and when you say people that I'm afraid that don't have our best interest at heart, folks like that are the people I'm worried about, because they do have that brand recognition. So how do we position people, like like Morgan to be in a place where they can win.
Well, it starts with
And
awareness,
I
Kev.
think
It starts with interviews just like this. It starts with awareness.
it
People just
does.
being aware of who the candidates are.
So, but then, and so after that comes the follow up, right? Because honestly, you know, I'm honest to say that, you know, and you were in radio too. You know that every year WEBN starts putting up them boards, right about the time that Billboard's going to start taking, or what's going to start taking note on who's got the biggest reach. So, you know, EBN puts up stupid billboards that don't make any sense, but give them name recognition, right? So we have these great interviews, and then the people, those candidates, they leave, and that person leaves your mind. Now, the hope is that at some point in the future, you know, you see that name, and you're like, oh, man, I remember her. She was fired. But if you don't talk about her a month and a half from now, who's going to know Morgan? You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing for the broader community. You know, how do we keep these folks? If you feel this person is relevant, if you think that she can, I think that one of the biggest issues I have with her personally is she's for the entire progressive agenda. I love the idea of the progressive agenda, but I don't know if the progressive agenda, if your name is not Sherrod Brown, can win in the state of Ohio. This ain't a city race. This ain't a, you know, a me and you race. I guess you should be for reparations, but if that's not part of my platform, I would have pivoted and been like, you know what, that's not part of the platform right now. Let me get into office. We can start talking about how we can make that happen. I think that you got to be kind of more broad-based, a little bit more. We keep saying intentionality, but we're not intentional with the way we run our candidates. And then when they lose, we're like, yeah, the Democrats don't fight fair. They don't fight like the Republicans. You know what I'm saying? Because Republicans find somebody that they're like, oh, well, you for the idiot that just left the White House? Okay, well, you know, 70, 80% of the country's for him. We're gonna run that guy. You know, they don't worry about the other people out there that are actually sensible and are like, no, that dude was an idiot and he should never have been in office. Don't worry about that. They're like, we want to win. So I'm like, you know, and you had asked this a while ago. You know, do we need to start running our campaigns and running our candidates the way the Republicans do? In a way, I say no. But some of the stuff they do is just wrong. You know, this whole thing about gerrymandering, even though both sides do gerrymander, that is true. This whole thing about suppressing the vote and things like that. No, we shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. But as far as being intentional and making sure that we have a candidate that actually can win and not a primary, because if we're being honest, it doesn't matter if you win the primary. It matters if you win the general, especially when we're looking at a Senate that's 50-51. Every seat we pick up is an opportunity to win. You know, I ain't never ran a race, man, where I was trying to make it to the end. I'm trying to win. Now, if somewhere in that, you know, there's 40 other people that are faster than me, well, I can't do anything about that. But I'm going to run as hard as I can, and I'm going to put myself in a position to win if I can. So, you know, and if I'm not the best person to run, you know what I'm saying? If you look at the team and you like, well, you're the fifth man, or let's say you're the sixth man and you got 5 starters, you don't go out there and say, Coach, put me in and take out one of them starters. If he's better than you, let him play. We want to win. Again, let's pivot back. I think that she brought articulation was amazing. Understands the issues absolutely. I'd like to know more about her background, so I probably will go on her website. I wish you, if you can, Nate, post a link or something if there's something available to her. I heard what she said, and I've got her name, so I can look it up. But I don't know that everybody will put in that kind of work. And I'm not saying anybody's lazy. I'm just trying to make it, more possible. We want the best candidate that can win, man. I don't care who that is. I'm like, we can't give up seats. And Ohio's important. They say the road to the White House goes through Ohio. It really does. And so, now that we got the White House, how do we support the White House? Well, we got to win in the next election, right? We got to win in this midterm in order to actually see some of the things that are being benched come to fruition. I've taken too much time already. I'm gonna get off of here, man, because
Okay.
now you only got 11 minutes to discuss this very important topic. Again, though, man, fire on these interviews. I'm loving it. Bro.
Yep. Expect more, brother.
Bro. Thanks, bro.
Yep. Take it easy. I've already got the next month and a half lined up, and I'm open and got some spaces for more. Again, I'm just a naturally curious person, and this is my wheelhouse. This is part of my brand as a talk show host. I look at myself more as a creative entrepreneur these days, less than a talk show host, more of an influencer. But I'm just naturally curious about the world around us, and I want to bring people that I can learn from and just get a sense of what's happening culturally, politically, around the world, around not just around the block, but around the country, around the world. And I'm going to do just that. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
What's up, brother Nate? What's going on this Friday?
Hey, I'm doing well, Daryl. Daryl from Atlanta, man. Welcome.
Yeah, man. Oh, did you get a chance to check out that video with Beasley?
I have not. I'll probably check it out later today. I got some work I got to do. I got an interview later at 1 p.m. and then probably over the weekend I got to check it out because I definitely want to see it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see it.
Yeah.
It's like it's powerful, man.
It's gonna hit you. Trust me. It's gonna hit you.
Okay. I love what the Pivot Podcast is doing. I love what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
They definitely got something special.
Okay. Hey, man, if you get a chance, you need to go. Man, the young lady you had on, she's, like you said, she's sharp. That's a good word. I just, realistically, I'm like, she probably don't have the money. I don't know I don't know how her grassroots groups are doing and raising money for her. But she's sharp. She's gonna be around. If she don't get in this time, she's gonna be back. Trust me, she'll be back. She's sharp. But Gary Chambers in Louisiana, bruh, I'll give you the reference if you don't know the name. He's the brother that's running for Senate to smoke the blunt.
Right.
In his political, man, he came out. He came out with another video burning the Confederate flag, bro.
Yeah. I'm aware. Yep.
Oh, you saw it? Saw it? Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So I'm bringing him up because not only does he do things to really trigger people, but he's really on knowing the numbers of, get out the vote and the percentages of black people that didn't show up and how to get to those people, to get them out and register new voters. He really has his grassroots movement, and he's working with other groups and following some of the things we did here in Georgia with New Georgia Project, Black Voters Matter. And I would suggest that this young lady, if she hasn't already reach out to Black Voters Matter, because Ohio's pivotal and we need Ohio. So that's all I got to say, bro.
Yeah, thanks for the call, man. Yeah, I'm aware of Gary Chambers. I think it's Gary Chambers Jr. And he got on my radar screen back in a couple years back, 2020 maybe, because there was a video of him going in on some school board members down there in East Baton Rouge, down in Louisiana. He went off. He went to the school board meeting and let them have it. And at the time, we was dealing with our own school board issues, right? So, it was very, very relevant and it hit my radar screen. So, yeah, he is running is he running for Senate, I believe it is? Yeah, he's running for Senate. So, we'll see. We'll see. I did reach out to Gary Chambers. That was back then. I haven't heard back from him. But, it is what it is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Gladys writes, I saw her on the Breakfast Club. Very good information of the good old boys. Okay, so you saw that too? Brenda writes, weaponized, ? Ask Vivian Green. Kamiki writes, it's very shameful to make excuses for abusive behaviors. I personally know women emotionally and physically harmed by men who won't let go. There should not be the behaviors real men condone. And you know what, Kamiki, I'm going to flip that. There are men out there who are dealing with women who won't let go. But men cry in the dark. When men cry or when we plead, is looked upon as weakness. Shut up, you a man. So you're right. But that doesn't mean that this is Kanye. That's all I'm saying. Like, why do we do this with black men? Black man walks in, he's got on a mask for COVID, he's got on a Scully and some sunglasses into the bank. The bank teller assumes he's got a gun. Black man loses his wife. She got a whole nother dude laying up in bed with her. He's emotional about it. People assume he's a domestic violence abuser. Why do we jump to these assumptions when it comes to black men? Now we know that Ryan Coogler was honest because he got Wakanda Forever money. He ain't got to steal. But how could a black man possibly have $12,000? How could a black man possibly have $12,000? If he had went in there and the amount was lesser, if he had asked for $500, she wouldn't have been as suspicious. And you know it and I know it. People keep making motherfucking excuses. He walked into the bank strange. He walked into the bank like everybody else. That woman, that black woman had implicit bias. Oh my God. How could he have $12,000 in his account? You know, the white man has been very successful in systematically oppressing and crushing you. How you got $12,000? If he had walked in there and asked for $120, she never would have had a problem with it. It wouldn't have been as suspicious. What made him suspicious is that the amount of money he was asking for and his skin color. Please stop playing with me. Everybody can see that. Same thing with Kanye. Kanye has lost his wife. It is clear. It happens sometimes. He's in his feelings. Right? Like I said, shout out to Soulja Boy, because Soulja Boy put out a video checking Pete Davidson. Like, hold on, homie. We ain't going to do all that. Finally, a real man shows up. Come on, man. You ain't got to do all that. Just live your life. If you enjoying your time with her, enjoy your time with her. Have some class with it. Because there's consequences. There's consequences always. That's all I'm saying. Meanwhile, Mary J has weaponized her music against her ex-husband. He puts out a video, or he does an interview in which he says, you know, listen, every time she makes a song talking about me, it affects my business. Nobody says a word. That's okay. They got divorced 4 years ago. Pre-COVID. Like, well, just as COVID was starting, right? Because that was March. That was just when COVID was hitting. Nobody says a word. Diddy writes, but do you get on social media and bitch about it to the world and expect world not to say nothing back? Oh my God, Diddy. Tell that to Mary J. She keeps bitching about a relationship that ended 4 years ago. You and other black women's don't say nothing about that. You don't say nothing about that. And look at the way you frame it. But do you get to go on social media and bitch about it? So now a black man can't even be in his feelings because he's in love with a woman. Maybe he messed up. It happens all the time. I don't know the particulars of. All I'm just saying is give this black man some space to grieve and mourn his lost relationship without everybody assuming the absolute worst and the negative, making jokes. A grown black man, D.L. Hughley, is making jokes about the penis size of the boyfriend of Kim Kardashian. What kind of man does that? That's the bitch move. Nobody says a word except for yours truly, because it's my job to keep things 100. I've got to do it. It's a heavy burden, but I'm built for it. I'm built for it. But let me finish her whole world. Diss a man repeatedly and not say anything back, it depends on what's going on. I've had people say all kind of stuff to me. I never respond because it's small potatoes, tis with a flick of my wrist. Or I realize where this man or this woman is coming from. I'm like, oh, I know what their problem is. I just smile and keep going. You ain't got to respond every time somebody say something to you. And you don't. Most people don't respond every time somebody say something to you. Use a damn lie if you tell me you do that. Oh, I'm going to check everybody to say something. Knock it off. No, you don't. Because it's beneath you. It's beneath you. And that little stuff between DL and Kanye, it was beneath DL, but DL wants to be relevant. And so he's going to try to use this situation right here to try to keep himself relevant with the internet. I see right through it. I see right through it. My time is short, family. Shiva writes, MJB needs to just own the fact that she is mad and that she had the right to check. Her issue is money, not a lost relationship. If she had cheated and did not have to write the check, it would be different. I think it's both of them, right? You're right. It is the money, Shiva. You're right. But so what? It's over with. It was 4 years ago. The judge said what the judge said. It's over with. You going to weaponize your music for the rest of your life against your ex-husband? I wouldn't want to be with her. I wouldn't F with Mary J. Not on no serious tip, because I see how you are. I don't want to deal with that. And we can have a little fun. Other than that, that's it. Why would I want to be with you when I see how you treated your ex? I don't got time for that. Later for that. You be writing songs about me. I ain't got time for it. Angela writes, dude is in Mary's pocket so she can keep singing about it. Kendall, get your own money, then she can stop singing about you. Geesh. See, women ain't got, the black women's ain't got no compassion for the black man. Y'all ain't got no compassion whatsoever. He in her pockets. He's not in her pockets. That's just modern day divorce. She was making millions of dollars every year. He was the manager. She knew what it was. She should have got a prenup. Now, Angela, I got to call you out on this. If you flipped this and it was a man that was in his feelings and paying, what would you say? What would the black women say? They would say, you should have got a prenup. Oh, well, boo. Same thing for Mary J. But no. When it's a black woman, we got to legitimize her feeling. We have to legitimize it. It's relevant. Oh, her feelings matter. You should have got a fucking prenup, period. You knew you was a big time star. You knew he was whatever he was beforehand. You knew that. Simple as that. Ain't that what you said about Michael Jordan? Exactly. Should have got a prenup. She should have got a prenup. We got all these excuses and latitude and forgiveness and understanding when it comes to the black women's, but not to the black men's. And I'll leave you like that. Thank you for being here this morning. I really appreciate you. Again, if you're interested, tap into what is happening with Renewed Community Church on Sundays, 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They do a Sunday morning masterclass. So you can check out Straight Talk Live with Edna Howe. And oh, by the way, Edna's going to be back with another fabulous conversation on Sunday morning. She'll have another fabulous conversation with you on Sunday morning. Somebody asked about the Ladies with Melanin Insights. They took a little bit of a hiatus to the 27th. So they'll be back, not this Sunday, but on the 27th of March. Looking forward to that because they always have something to add to the conversation. Okay, and easy on the eyes. Some good conversation and easy on the eyes, so check them out. And have an excellent rest of your day, family. I really appreciate you. Let's say it again, because hustlers, early risers, and winners, there is no weekend. You got to work 7 days a week. You don't get no time off when you're trying to make your dreams and your goals come true, right? Ain't no time off for you. So let's end with our motto. Winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So stay focused and stay winning, and we'll talk real soon. Until next time, I'm Nate Ivey, and I'm out.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a
success on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get him, I got him, I told him it's nothing. In the discussion, all them feelings, I throw all my pain on percussion. It's disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you on my spot at the feast. I've been on go mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride. Cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride. Annie up, penny down, hand me down, thrift store, old drip. New money, too funny, old shorty, talk about old. I'm on they now, can't get a pass now. I'm a cash cow, keeping it brash now. It's trash now, I'm a spaz out. I've been killing my lows and living on highs. You see in the skies the proof. You could just see in my eyes that there is no lies. I cannot disguise the truth. I've been ducked off, getting in my new merch, colored duck sauce on the new couch with my Chucks on. Get the on with that hate. I'm big cool on the small chat, cause I know now that I'm all that. Got a hawk guy on the ball cat, get the out of my face.
Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the